Hello everyone. This is one presentation to introduce the impact of educational innovation on teaching English as a foreign language. This is created by Professor Daniel Campos in August 2025. Welcome to all the audience. Okay, so let's start by saying which is the concept of education, what is the meaning, and what is the definition. In my own words, education is a human right. It means all humans must have the access to education. Just for being humans, all of them have the right of being educated. Consequently, educational innovation, according to some authors, as you can see on the screen, is the process of inventing, implementing, and sustaining new and better practices in order to enhance student engagement, motivation, and learning process. It means through these new innovating practices, students can get better the process of learning. In order to continue, according to different organizations around the world and some authors, they have summarized 8 purposes for innovation in education. They are the following. Number 1, learning outcomes improvement. Technological adaptation for number 2. Number 3, inclusion. And number 4, increase students' engagement. Number 5, learning personalization. Number 6, lifelong learning. Number 7, enhanced teaching. And number 8, school system and culture transformation. Okay, before continuing, it's necessary to make a differentiation between these two concepts. So we have ESL versus EFL. So the first one is English as a second language, while the second one is English as a foreign language. ESL, or English as a second language, refers to the teaching and learning of English by individuals or people whose first language, L1, is not English, but they are living in a country where English is the dominant or official language. For instance, USA, the United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. But also, this is very tricky because India, Hong Kong, and other countries, English is the second official language in that country. For example, India has many other official languages, but also as a second language, English is the official, as the same as Hong Kong. In Mexico, for example, we have a very special case in many regions because we have ESL, which means Spanish as a second language. In other words, many regions of Mexico, their mother tongue is not Spanish because it's an indigenous language or a dialect. So those regions speak Spanish as a second and official language, but it's not the L1, it's not their mother tongue. Okay, so let's continue with EFL. English as a foreign language refers to the learning of English by individuals whose first language is not English and who are living in a non-English-speaking country where English is not used as a primary language in daily life. So, people, for example, that are living in Latam, France, Italy, or Japan study English as a foreign language because English is not their mother tongue. So they are studying or they are learning a foreign, an extra language. Moreover, let's talk about innovation in English as a second language. This concept refers to the application of new teaching strategies, learner-centered approaches, methodologies, and technologies in order to improve how English is learned in non-native speakers living in English officially speaking countries or in countries with English is not officially a second language. Additionally, the main objective of the main purpose of innovation in English as a second language is to motivate people or students to develop language competencies and skills for academic, professional, or social needs in a real-world context. Technology, pedagogy of culture, scaffolding, social emotional integration, and family and community are important elements of influence in English as a second language. It means teaching or learning a second language, in this case English, is importantly influenced by these elements in order to have a better result. This information or these elements are synthesized from these authors. If you can see more information, you can access to these references. Innovation in English as a foreign language. This concept is better contextualized in Mexico because this country doesn't teach English as a second language. And the definition is the integration of new methods, technologies, learner-centered approaches, advanced teaching experiences and strategies as well, pedagogical techniques, and inclusion of self-learning strategies such as socio-emotional learning and metacognition. It works similarly but is not the same because it's different according to the social and political environments in Mexico. So in Mexico, there are many reforms of education, many approaches in different years around this political cycle. But the general achievement of the general purpose of innovation in English as a foreign language is to make learning more interesting, more friendly, more engaging, and relevant for students' necessities in the 21st century. As a result, we have these elements of influence in English as a foreign language, according to the same authors. Now we have integration of technology, because it's similar to the previous one. Communicative language teaching, task-based learning approaches, blended and flipped learning, learner-centered approaches, intercultural competences, gamification, and motivation. Now, the historical background of innovation in English as a foreign language, because this concept is more contextualized in our country. This is the main piece of this video presentation. So we have all the background related to how innovation is included through many years. So we have here in this slide the pre-20th century, which is around these years, in which language teaching was influenced by Latin and Greek roots. The teaching approach emphasizes on grammar and translation methods, and only memorization and reading classical texts is all the learning. This era is not for communication, is not use the language for communicate something, and there are many religious and classical texts such as the Bible and Shakespeare tales, and did not even exist an approach on this area. Early 20th century. During this period, the relevance of structuralism and behaviorism is quite important in teaching English. Language teaching is just a system of structures and habits mechanically repeated, so there is no communication a lot. English began to spread globally little by little due to the colonialism, trade, and diplomacy. Direct and audiolingual methods focus only on repetition and drills, so there is no meaning for communication in real situations. Listening and speaking are more important before reading and writing, and the approach is just teacher-centered. Now, this is one of my favorite periods of history. This is Second World War. The years are around 50s and 60s, in which global expansion of English was increasing. The USA and the UK relationships and influences were more popular around the world, and English as a foreign language and English as a second language start being more important for diplomacy, science, business, aviation, medicine, tourism, and government links. Latin America and more countries start including into the curriculums of education English language teaching. But communicative language teaching methods are not still included during this era, and also the teacher-centered approach was included to teach English. So many of this information was summarized from this author. Now it's time for communication period, which happened between the years of 17th and 18th. The communication focus on meaning. The learning English process now is for communicative purposes. Rise of constructivism paradigm. It means that the students need to create their own learning through discovering. And communicative language teaching focus on fluency, functional language, and authentic text. It also appears the TVL methodology. Now is the time for contemporary era between 19th and 20th. This is very significant for me because during this period of time I was a student of basic education in Mexico. Their characteristics are the integration of technology or new approaches, integration of computer and internet sources, but this is very tricky because in Mexico, in that period, we didn't have internet access in the schools. Of course, if so, was not free. Really importance in basic education, as I told before. Rise of computer-assisted language learning. The constructivism paradigm is very popular. The approach for learning English and teaching English is learner-centered approach. Methodology based on projects, such as TVL. Communicated language teaching and content and language integrated learning. It means students may learn English through another disciplines such as geography, biology, chemistry, or maths. An eclectic approach is being popular during this period of time. 21st century. This period of time is very significant for me because I was studying in teachers training school. The learner-centered approach was the most important. Language competency, communicated language teaching and learning, and TVL started being applying in teaching. English started being as a lingua franca. Critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration. Social emotional areas are included into the curriculum. Internet, technology, digital era applications, artificial intelligences, and social networks start being more necessary and important around the world. Blended learning refers to the combination of face-to-face learning and online activities. It means learners are in classroom studying language, but as a rehearsal or reinforcement, they have online activities to do. Electronic learning refers to the use of technology, internet, and digital resources to deliver instructions, interaction, and it happens outside of traditional classroom through online courses, hybrid formats, virtual tutors, online platforms, and multimedia content. Flipped classroom refers to content is delivered outside the classroom. It means traditional lectures are given outside the classroom. However, in the room is just for practicing the knowledge, socializing, communicating, and receiving feedback from teachers. Distance learning, or also named remote learning, is when teachers and students are physically separated, and instruction only takes place in platforms or through video conferences. A clear example of this was when we faced the COVID-19 period. The platforms could be Meet, Zoom, or Teams. Now is the turn for English language teaching and English language learning in the future. Through this video, my ideas and my opinions are supported by different authors and organizations, but now this slide is completely my own point of view. I anticipate you that this is very exaggerated and controversial, but for me in the future, there are extreme ideas such as ELT is not required because maybe another languages are more important. Learning is going to be learned through pills or digital devices connected to the brain. Integration of languages will be inserted in our DNA. Of course, as a consequence, teachers for me won't be necessary in the future. Artificial intelligences will rule totally the world. And many technological languages such as computer data or computer informative language is going to be more important rather than human languages. So, in my opinion, human languages will disappear in the future. And now, we are finally here at the conclusion slide. So this conclusion is very satisfactory for me because now I can summarize all my point of views. Of course, my point of view is supported by many authors, and my ideas. And now we have that innovation in English language teaching is essential for creating engaging, effective, and inclusive learning experiences. The integration of new technologies, methodologies, and learner-centered approaches allow to teachers promote real-world communications while fostering autonomy and motivation. And innovation is for the language to be relevant, dynamic, and accessible to prepare learners, not only to understand a new language, but also to socialize in a multilingual and multicultural context during this period of globalization. And well, this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you so much for this, and bye-bye. See you next time.